On today's video I will be showing you how to remove and replace the CV axle on this 2024 Nissan Altima. First we start by removing the 5 lug nuts on the wheel. The size socket you will need is a 21mm socket. Once the wheel is removed, firmly grab the wheel and remove off of the vehicle. Next we are going to remove the CV axle nut. If you don't have the size socket needed, you can always rent this socket set from AutoZone or O'Reilly's parts store. Now that the axle nut is off, we now work on removing the nut that is holding the tie rod end to the spindle. You should be able to break it loose with a 18 or 17mm socket. Be sure to not lose the washer and nut that you just removed. Your tie rod end may be stuck to the spindle. Grab a hammer and tap on the spindle side to separate it without breaking or damaging the lower bushing. Next, we will be removing the nut that is holding the sway bar linked to the shock. You may have to hold the back side with some pliers due to its spinning. Next, we will be removing the bolt and nut that connects the lower control arm to the spindle. Hold the bolt with an open-end wrench and remove the nut with your impact gun. Tap the bolt out with a punch or something similar. Then, tap the lower control arm to separate the ball joint from the spindle. With a pry bar, check to make sure it is separated. This one will not fall by itself as it has a lot of weight on it due to the rotor and spindle. Next, you will need a 10mm socket to remove the one bolt that is holding the wheel speed sensor. I do this to not stretch or rip the wire. I like to wrap a chain around the lower control arm and use the biggest pry bar I owned. This helps me separate the lower control arm off of the spindle. You can see here it is almost off. This is harder than it looks. Be sure to have some help, just in case. Next, we are going to use a 13mm socket and long extension to remove the bolts that hold the bracket. The brackets stop the axle bearing from coming off and stay in place. Make sure to put in a safe place and in the same position you removed it, that way when you go back to install it you don't install it in reverse or backwards. Once the bracket is removed, you should be able to just pull the axle off. Go ahead and grab the new axle and begin to repeat the installation process in reverse. Grab and install the bracket you just removed.